Welcome to Movie Speeching. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take good care. The Equalizer 3 is the name of the movie. Please like and subscribe for every update. The opening scene highlights a wrongdoing master named Lorenzo Vitali, who is driving towards his separated vineyard in Sicily with his grandson. Once there, he inquires his grandson to remain within the vehicle whereas he cautiously wanders interior. To his frightfulness, he finds that numerous of his cohorts have been brutally slaughtered. As he strolls into the storm cellar, he finds a resigned U.S. Marine and DIA agent named Robert McCall, who is being held at gunpoint by two of Lorenzo's bodyguards. The last mentioned inquires for the reason why he is here, to which Robert reacts that Lorenzo has something that he shouldn't have. After a brief trade, Robert murders the rest of the partners in crime as well as Lorenzo. As he strolls out of the vineyard, he notices Lorenzo's grandson within the vehicle and instructs the boy to remain put without moving. In any case, as he strolls up to his car, the boy shoots Robert within the back and makes a fast elude. In spite of the harm, Robert oversees to board a ship to go back to the terrain. Afterward that night, whereas driving on the Amalfi Coast, Robert pulls over and slips into obviousness due to the gunfire. After a whereas, a nearby carabinier named Gio Benucci finds him in this state and chooses to assist him. He brings him to an inaccessible coastal Italian town in Altamonte, where a specialist named Enzo treats him. Upon recapturing awareness, Enzo educates Robert that Gio spared him. He moreover asks whether Gio protected a great or awful man, but Robert doesn't know how to reply. When he endeavors to return domestic, Enzo intercedes, demanding that his wound requires time to recuperate and offers him a put to remain. Enzo takes care of Robert, and after 3 days of treatment, the last mentioned starts to walk with the assistance of a cane. One day, he wanders exterior to investigate the town, stowing away himself from the cops around the lanes. He in the long run closes up at a nearby cafe where he meets a proprietor and server named Amina. She serves him their best coffee in spite of him having requested a tea. Without further ado after, Gio comes to the cafe on his normal visit with his girl Gabby and meets Robert. Whereas Amina engages his girl, Gio hands over Robert's car keys. Gio moreover notices that he has stopped Robert's car behind the station and can recover it at whatever point he feels way better. In the next scene, Robert makes a mysterious call to the CIA money-related operations gather and talks to an agent named Emma Collins. He tips her off approximately the vineyard in Sicily and how it has been associated to the unlawful sedate exchange, masked as ordinary commerce exchanges. After conveying this data, he renders the phone broken. On the other hand, Emma transfers the data with other CIA agents. Robert spends the following few days meandering around the town and in the long run gets familiar with the local people there. Within the middle of this, he moreover learns around Camorra, an Italian mafia gang, who annoys and undermines the town individuals over their profit, requesting normal installments. One day, Robert takes note a nearby fish seller named Angelo getting beaten up by a high-ranking Camorra member named Marco Quaranta. Sometime recently clearing out, he threatens Angelo that he will come back next week to gather the money. Taking after this, the criminals head to an expansive building where the pioneer of Camorra, who is additionally Marco's brother, Vincent Quaranta, is attempting to mightily clear the premises. It turns out that Camorra is working on their fantastic arrange, commercializing the town by building and used inns, resorts, and casinos. In one of the building rooms, an elderly man in a wheelchair denies to comply with the Camorra pact. As a result, the group individuals hang the ancient man from the window, taking off him to pass on. On the other hand, Robert and Enzo share a charming supper discussion, and Robert demands on making a difference him with his everyday errands. The taking after morning, he goes to the showcase on sake of Enzo and visits Angelo's shop. The kind-hearted Angelo denies to acknowledge installment for the basic need, expressing that it's his honor that Enzo's friend has come over to his shop for the primary time. In the meantime, Emma and other CIA agents, acting on Robert's tip-off, arrive at the winery to conduct their examination. There, they reveal millions in cash in conjunction with sacks full of unlawful opiates covered up in a storeroom. Shocked that these exercises were off their radar, Emma and her colleague, straight to the point Conroy, choose to go in profundity of the matter. On a stormy day, Enzo is looking at Robert's wound when the last mentioned asks him for the reason why he treated him without including any emergency vehicle or police. In reaction, Enzo reminds him of his to begin with address he inquired around being a great or awful individual and how he had no answers to it. He claims that his quiet was without a doubt the sign of a great individual. The another evening, Robert recovers his rucksacks and plans to take off the town, but he is seized by the sound of a chime. Fair at that point, he takes note the town individuals surging towards Angelo's shop, inciting him to take after them. It turns out that Marco and his group have burnt down Angelo's shop due to his failure to form the installments. In spite of this dominance, the town individuals can do nothing but to watch helplessly. Afterward, Robert, at the side of few townspeople, offer assistance Angelo to clean up the mess. Meanwhile, Gio audits video of the firebombing and calls the Italian Central Police for and requests approximately a van that was seen exterior Angelo's shop. Within the middle of this, Robert is slowly recuperating, getting to be a portion of the neighborhood community, and developing his companionship with Amina. He too investigates more of the nearby cooking of Altamonte, inevitably adjusting to the town. As a result of all this, the Camorra interferometer and bringing their impact into Altamonte inconveniences him distant more than he had anticipated. On one scheduled day, Robert is seen getting a charge out of his coffee at Amina's cafe when he spots Emma subtly attempting to take his photo. Robert at that point goes up against her, recommending that she capture the photo from distant better, a much better, a higher, a stronger, and improved a much better point. Emma inquires why and how he has such exact data, approximately the winery's genuine trade. Be that as it may, he sticks to giving her a few unclear answers, too exhorting her to dive into her remaining work. As she takes off, she addresses him by his title, which shocks him. Afterward that day, Gio goes to pick up his daughter from school. Amid this time, he gets a call from an obscure number, educating him that Gabby's school was over a bit earlier than the other kids. Concerned, Gio asks to one of the teachers, who uncovers that an officer had picked Gabby up fair or whereas back. In a state of freeze, he surges domestic as it were to discover his spouse and girl held captive by the Camorra pack. Marco at that point beats him up in front of his family, rebuffing him for interferometer in their operations. The pack undermines to require the life of his family if he meddling once more. Within the evening, Robert takes note Gio clearing out Enzo's office with blood patches on his confront. Inquisitive, he inquires about the matter, and Enzo clarifies that such episodes are common in numerous towns due to the Camorra. According to Enzo, the issue is like cancer with no remedy. Another day, Robert goes to the church where he meets Emma for one more time. She affirms that Lorenzo Vitali had been on Interpol's most needed list for a decade, which his operation was very colossal in itself. Captivated around why he chose her for the mysterious tip, Emma questions his eagerly. Be that as it may, he redirects the subject by expressing that she ought to be centering on why Sicily was being focused on for these sneaking exercises. Promising to discover the reply before long, Emma says that she trusts to know the reply to her unique address in their following assembly. That evening, Gio and his family are having supper at a eatery when Marco and his peers hinder their quality time. Marco requests that Gio offer assistance them set up a watercraft for their private trade purpose. Robert, who is additionally within the same eatery, catches their discussion and demands them to take off the family alone. In reaction, Marco debilitates him to remain absent from things that do not concern him. In a calm tone, Robert communicates his developing fondness for this town and its individuals. He at that point inclinations Marco to require his trade somewhere else and cautions him of the results in the event that he doesn't comply. When large scale still overlooks the caution, Robert turns his bear and locks up his hand, making him shout. He at that point orders Marco to take off his weapon on the table and exit the eatery with his men. After a whereas, the wrinkled Marco plans to go back in with his partners in crime and murder Robert. But sometime recently they can go forward with their arrange. Robert drives a van through two of his partners in crime and begins battling them. At one point, Marco holds him at knife point and debilitates to require his life. Notwithstanding, Robert counters by turning Marco's hand and drives the cut through his neck, eventually murdering him. The taking after morning, straight to the point contacts Emma from Rome to let her know almost the most recent station bombing. It's uncovered that money found earlier within the vineyard was moreover connected to a comparable fear-based oppressor act. This makes Emma realize that the Camorra is straightforwardly subsidizing fear-based oppression by paying for carrying drugs into Sicily. Moreover, she conjectures that Naples serves as the essential travel point for Medicaid transportation and suspects the inclusion of another group in Naples. Decided to unwind the whole chain, she starts her examination by meeting key individuals of the Camorra. For this, she too demands association and get to with the head of Naples's police. Afterward on, we see the same police chief going to the burial service of Marco at Vincent's house. During this, he educates Vincent around the inclusion of CIA officer Emma, who is exploring their illegal exchanges. Vincent, who is grieving his brother's passing, gets to be infuriated by the explanation and cuts off the chief's hand. He at that that point undermines the chief to center on finding out the individual behind Marco's passing. After this, Vincent sends the police chief to the clinic, with his separated hand protected in an ice bucket. Somewhere else, Emma gets a call, educating her approximately the police chief's pickle. In the blink of an eye after, she moreover gets a call from Robert, who tells her approximately the Camorra's inclusion within the Sedate cartel, closely tied to the prior station assault. Robert's call incidentally spares Emma's life, avoiding her from falling casualty to Vincent's arranged bomb attack on her car. Within the consequence, Emma is promptly surged to the healing center for therapeutic help. There, she meets straight to the point and alarms him approximately the Camorra. Upon learning everything, straight to the point guarantees her that he will handle the remaining operation. That evening, Vincent takes Gio and his family as hostages and undermines to shoot them before the complete town in case his brother's killer doesn't appear up. When Vincent doesn't get any data, he shoots Joe's ear and debilitates to conclusion him with his following shot. Fair at that point, Robert uncovers himself to Vincent and inquires him to let the captives go. He claims that he's prepared to be taken absent and tormented, but not before the townspeople. Be that as it may, Vincent, who is as pompous as his brother, denies, attesting that the local people must witness the results against the Camorra. But sometime recently Vincent can slaughter him. The town individuals begin recording the trial, causing the criminals to withdraw. The same night, Robert penetrates Vincent's domestic and stealthily murders his bodyguards one by one. Vincent, who is sleeping, is startled by a drop of blood on his temple. The glass right over him abruptly smashes, but he barely oversees to elude. He at that point snatches his gun and tries to contact his already deceased pack individuals. Without further ado after, Robert approaches him and powers him to require a deadly dosage of his claimed drugs. Vincent tries to run absent from his house, but Robert takes after him. In the long run, the criminal collapses on the cobbled street of Naples and eventually capitulates to drug overdose. Another morning, Robert pays a visit to Emma at the healing center, who communicates her appreciation for sparing her life. He drops a pack of cash on the floor and offers the story of a man named Greg Dyer, who had misplaced his benefits in a cyber assault. This makes her realize that Robert had taken after the path of assault to the vineyard, slaughtered Lorenzo and his henchmen, and recovered the precise cash that was owed to Greg. Inquisitive, she inquires on the off chance that Robert and Dyer are companions, to which he clarifies that they have as it were met once. Within another scene, Emma goes to Boston and arranges to convey the lifetime earnings to Greg and his spouse. Greg inquires approximately the character of the liberal sponsor and ponders why somebody would go to such lengths for a stranger. In any case, Emma answers that she would adore to know the reason as well. After she leaves, Greg joyfully inquires his spouse to unpack everything because they do not have to give up their house any longer. One day, at the CIA base camp in Langley, Virginia, straight to the point hands Emma a bundle containing a diary and a note from Robert. Much to her shock, it's her mother's journal. As she interfaces the dabs, she learns that Robert is none other than a companion of her guardians from the CIA. Within the final scene, the inhabitants of Altamonte are seen celebrating their triumph in a football match. Robert moreover takes an interest within the celebration as one of the local people. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.